There's a crack in the sky of thunder, and you can start to hear immediately the ding, 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 ding of rain on your metal armor. It starts off slow, but very quickly builds up to and just sheets of torrential rain falling. As you look around, and the final orc gives his last twitch, bashed in or bitten by Tuvarok, you can see that the orcs have fled or are dead. There are a number of women and children who have been stashed into this sort of little outcropping here, sheltered from the rain, and they huddle there. They look grateful, but also somewhat afraid.
Garak has also kind of given his twitch as he now lies still in the thick kind of under foliage, having passed out after this battle. It just exhausting all of his stamina and even more.
I think Vasco is going to stride forward through the rain, the dark orc blood washing from his shining armor. And he looks squinting through the tropical rain, and he calls out to the individuals that they've liberated. And he says to one of them, "How many are there of you?"
There's a woman looks around. 20?
We are to journey back to the nearest settlement. It is your responsibility to ensure that everyone follows our commands. It is the only way you'll survive.
She looks behind her at various children, some of them actual babies, and she looks up at you, but is unwilling to talk back to you, and she just nods.
Is this like a camp, Lloyd, or did we catch them on the move?
Not really. It's a camp as far as the orcs are concerned, in that there's a fire and some food cooking over that fire. You think that they're comfortable enough sleeping out under the sky, but they found this outcropping for the humans who are weak in their eyes to sleep. Yeah, it's this sort of rib cage that was once of an animal, but now moss and grass has grown over it.
That's right, yes, thanks for reminding me. So Vasco then turns his gaze to Balthazar and he says, "We will do a brief sweep of the surrounding area, then I suggest we move. More reinforcements will come."
And Balthazar would nod at Vasco's orders, and he would take to the perimeter of this camp and kind of do a wide sweep of the surrounding area, sort of keeping his eye out for any signs of any other orcs that might have been away from the camp, hunting, whatever.
Sure, you can give me a perception.
It's actually pretty good. 17 on the die. My perception is +3, so 20. Dirty 20.
Excellent, the best kind. Actually, that's definitely not true. You want a clean 20 whenever you can get it. So you search around and you can follow the tracks and see that there are only enough tracks for the number of orcs that you have killed, or as well as Snaketooth and Frogcroak, but you saw them sort of vanish in some sort of sorcerer's haze.
Yeah, and that would be concerning to me. So I would return to Vasco and report my findings, basically telling him that there's no other orcs at this camp. So reinforcements, yes. No other orcs are coming back immediately, though. And then I would say, what concerns me is the sorcery they use to escape. They could potentially use that to come back. It's not anything I've seen before.
Nor I, dead man. But we sent a message here today. We have killed many of their best. They will not strike so quickly next time, I shouldn't wonder. We will group the civilians into the center of our line. You lead. I will take up the rear.
Heard.
Vasco then sweeps his cold gaze over to the grounded form of Garruk. Did Garruk not get healed at all then? Is he like out for the count?
He has some of his wounds have been mended, but there are still plenty that are showing on his body, and he's definitely not conscious at the moment. Tuvarok is up and moving around.
Vasco just strides over and stands above Garruk, and his hand is rested upon the hilt of his dagger as he looks down upon him. And he takes a moment. And he kneels down, and then he attempts to awaken the fallen orc. So if that's like a medicine or something.
Yep, definitely.
Help survive dice for this game. That is a 16. 16.
Well, that would stabilize him or something like that. You can see that he's fairly badly injured, I imagine. It looks like Brother Diego is like tired and beaten and is like looking around, more concerned at the women and the children.
Vasco's going to reach out with his gauntlet, and it gleams ever so slightly under the sheen of rain that is pouring from his armor. Garruk, you get 5 hit points back. Vasco says, "You are too good for the Father's blessing, but you know the way home."
He kind of sputters a bit, coughing up a little bit of blood, and as well as some rainwater now. He kind of rolls over and kind of turns, looking up at Vasco, and a confused expression kind of crosses his face. You have healed me?
It is not an occurrence that will repeat often, I assure you.
That is good to know.
On your feet.
Could you help me stand? I seem to be a little disoriented.
If you cannot stand by yourself, you will lack the strength to return home.
I appreciate the sentiment. You're kind as always. He'll roll over and kind of get to his knees and hands and call Tuvarok over. Kind of half climb, half drag himself up into the saddle. Did we win?
We were victorious this day.
The big one, Snake Tooth, and the other, the one who was using magic, they escaped, no?
They did, fled like the cowardly mutants they are.
They used sorcery to do it. Unlike anything I've seen.
If they have a shaman with them, then they are definitely something that should be handled with care. We should go quickly.
I would gather up those weapons, and none of them are really anything that would be of any use to the Scutarii, but I would hand them out to anyone who looks even remotely capable among the people, just the clubs and the atlatls, and basically just, letting them know you need to be able to defend yourselves if we come upon other orcs in the jungle. It's not a short journey back.
Many of them, like, their eyes widen when you mention other orcs. Like, they think that you have defeated the orcs, and therefore they're fine. And the idea of there being more out there, obviously, like, strikes fear into some of them. There's a couple, like younger women who will like take clubs and like sort of stand on the outside of like the mass of them. They look like hardy and brave, although likely unskilled. When you give them the addle, they're like, I don't even know what this is or how it works. Like they don't understand what it is, which I think like even you guys who are like warriors would have trouble using it if you're not familiar. So they just like think it might be useful as a club, and we'll hold it that way. So is the plan to return to Paletree?
We did say that we would retrieve these people and return them to their homes, and it would be unprofessional to not obtain our word. So Vasco is going to make sure he can be seen by all, and he says, if you obey us, you'll live. And if you do not, you will be lost and likely killed. Do not risk. Do as we say. Move.
They like look amongst themselves and they like nod, but they don't know where they're going.
Vasco just gives Garrick a nod, basically telling him to heal Tuvrock and get to the front.
Yeah, and he'll kind of still somewhat swooning a little in the saddle. He'll kind of just nod and heal the hyena up, kind of getting back to his position, 10, 20 yards or so ahead of the rest of the party, just enough so that they can see him and he can still hear them.
Yeah, the women and especially the children will like shy away or hide when Tuvrock rides by. You'll hear like gasps of fear as you and the hyena go by.
He'll kind of lean down towards them and say, "Believe me, he is friendlier than that one." And he'll hike his thumb towards Vasco.
So, Garrock, it's been maybe 10 minutes since the end of that fight, but it's been raining solidly for that whole time, heavily. And already you can see many of the tracks have been like obscured by the water that's falling at an amazing pace. Can you give me a survival check to try and find you'll be able to find yourself some of the way, but there will come a point, when you're in the deeper jungle where you start to struggle which way you're going.
Excellent. Okay, so I have humanoids as a favorite enemy, which gives me advantage on a survival to track. Would that be applicable here?
Yes, but I think you're still exhausted.
Yes, I am. So that is a wash.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Only a 10.
Okay. So you start to lead, and you'll be walking for a couple of hours through the jungle. It's almost featureless. Like there's so many features here that it's hard to parse what you see and how much stuff there is. So you kind of just see it as a green smudge as you walk through it, because there's so much, and everywhere there are animals, and everywhere there are insects, and everywhere there are trees and plants, and so it's almost featureless by virtue of being so packed full of things. And so it's very hard to find your way. You'll travel for a couple of hours, and then you'll find yourself at what appears to be a dead end. There's a ravine in front of you, spanning maybe 100 feet. And on the other side, you can see that there's like a sort of a little bit of like flat area. And there's actually a building there, like a stone building, that looks like it might finally give you some respite from this rain that is still going. There are like gnats and flies like crawling into your ears and up your nose and like in your eyes all the time in this rain. It doesn't seem to make them any less annoying or omnipresent. And you can feel yourself being bitten over and over again by various parasites. So if you imagine, there's like a ravine, and on your right-hand side as you're looking, there's like a cliff face that goes up higher. And hammered into that cliff face are stone steps that would like bring you across if you were inclined to go that way.
Was I wrong to lift you from your broken pile on the floor, Orc? What death trap have you left us to? Led us to, rather.
The orc, I don't know, he hit me in the head, and I'm having difficulty being able to find my way. This is unfamiliar ground to me.
Vasco's just staring at these steep stone steps, and he looks to the beast that you ride, and he says, "Will it be able to climb this?"
I don't know. It is likely slick with rain. I worry more for the children.
Lord Commander, perhaps one of us, the surest of foot, could go across first with a rope and create a kind of barrier between the steps and the drop below. We can secure the rope and hang on to it so as to not to fall.
Well volunteered, dead man. Be on your way.
Very well, Lord Commander. So I'm gonna maybe try something here. But I need a DM ruling here, Lloyd.
Okay.
So my idea here is I would like to take a rope, have one end held onto it by someone here on the other side, and I want to cast gaseous form and float across the other side with the rope. It says that while in this form, you transform a willing creature you touch, including myself, along with everything it's wearing and carrying. So my question is, can I leave the rope with someone and carry one end of it in gaseous form?
Huh. I wonder, does it turn the whole rope into gas? Or does
That's
it
what I'm thinking.
like
Yeah.
halfway or something? It's a good question. I don't know. It's magic. Sure.
I mean, you could fly up and then take it off your possessions when you're at the top, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. It does. So here at the end, it does say, while in the form of a misty cloud, the target can't talk or manipulate objects, and any objects it was carrying or holding can't be dropped, used, or otherwise interacted with. Okay. So that makes me think maybe I can't leave the rope behind.
Then probably not. So I imagine like if you are holding the rope and you turn into the gas, it just like becomes part of it.
Yeah, the whole rope turns into smoke or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, that probably won't work. We're probably gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. Oh, I do have
that idea though.
I do have Misty Step too. I'm trying to get fancy with it, but I should probably just walk across. How far? You said it was like 100 feet though, the ravine.
Yeah, the steps aren't far apart. You're not going to have to do any jumping or anything. Like they're
okay, cool.
It's basically like if you imagine it's a bridge, basically.
Right.
But the stones are just like looks like they've been hammered into the side of the cliff, and there's nothing on like the left side stopping you from just walking off. You know.
Okay.
But yeah, like it's not necessarily like a stairway. It's more like a bridge. But yeah, it would be slick with rain.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so I will. I'll grab one end of this rope, and I will start walking across these steps very slowly, very carefully.
Okay, can you give me your choice of acrobatics or athletics, please?
Ooh, athletics for sure. Oh my god. Oh god. That's a clean one. That is a natural one.
Okay.
I have inspiration. I'm going to use that inspiration. That's a lot better. 17 on the die, plus 4 athletics, 21. And that burns my inspiration.
Okay. Yep. So you're able to like walk. There's like this horrible feeling as you step in the first one, and it kind of like ever so slightly moves under your weight. It doesn't fall out of the wall or anything, but it's just like this immediate sense of like, oh Jesus, like your stomach like flips. And they all kind of do that. There's like a little bit of give in them as you make your way across. But you can do so without issue. You're able to make it all the way across to the other side. You can see that there is a building here, maybe 50 feet high. Like it looks like it might have once been a temple, something like that. It is covered with like a stone roof here before it heads off into the jungle itself.
So I will secure the rope as tight as I can to the nearest tree or rock or whatever thing won't budge. And then I will probably immediately go scout out that building to make sure that we're not going to get ambushed on the other side of this ravine.
Sure. So you move over towards the building. Who's going next on the bridge?
I think Vasco is going to look to the orc, but then decide that perhaps if there is danger, then it would be best to head it up front. So Vasco is going to go next.
Okay, acrobatics or athletics, please.
That's going to be
advantage for the rope.
spot on. Athletics it'll be. That's an okay roll. Let's see. That is 18.
Okay, no problem. It's a little bit shakier. You're a little bit heavier than Balthazar is, and at one stage, about halfway, there's like a as one of the stone steps just like bends ever so slightly, but you're able to like put your foot into the next one before anything tragic happens, and make your way across to the other side as you like hold onto the rope with your left hand. When are you sending the people? Are they going last?
No, I think they probably need to go now. Well, there's still 2 of us on this side, and there's 2 of you on that side.
Sure.
Oh man.
Okay, so they begin to cross. I'm going to roll for them. So they have advantage because of that rope, which is probably good news. Okay. I'm going to roll for groups of 5 because I cannot roll 20 rolls with advantage. Roll it on mind. Okay, that rope is paying such dividends. They make it. They're like holding on across, and like as Tuvarok like holds the rope on one side, and you've like attached it to a tree and pulled them tight. You can see at one stage there's like a kid that slips, but is holding onto the rope, and the little kid is like and screaming or whatever. But her mom is able to like pull her back up onto the path, and they're making it across. And then, can I get a perception check from all of you, please? Okay, so nothing. They're crossing, and you're like watching, and there's like as the kid like falls almost ever so slightly and is pulled back up. Like your attention is pulled to that, and you keep walking. And as they come over the other side, you realize that there are only 18, not 20.
That's on y'all side, so I don't know that I would even notice.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just a little bit dumbfounded. Vasco is scanning them, and he does like another count in his head, and he looks over to Balthasar and says, "Are we a few short?"
As you like say that, like some of them begin counting, and you can see one of the women just like her eyes are wide, and she just like roars in horror.
Keep moving across.
Who's missing?
My daughter. And another one shouts, my son.
When was the last time you remember seeing them?
And like they're both like in tears, and they're like screaming, and they're like shouting like the bridge. And you can see as like people continue to cross. I'll have you make another perception check. Okay, so to your horror, Vasco and Garrock, you see as like the last few stragglers are crossing, that a tongue fires from like up on the wall and like envelops one of the kids and just pulls it like a catapult up, and the kid vanishes. It looks like into the rock. And you even hear this like
Get across now! We are under attack! Vasco draws his weapon, and it's greatsword in one hand, and he draws his flintlock in the other, but he can't, I'm guessing he can't actually see the destination of where this tongue went.
No, you can, like, it's like this long, like pink tongue with like this big sort of thing at the end. It's like big, like I don't know how to explain it. But it like when it hit the kid, it like enveloped the whole kid and then like pulled it back. With insane speed. You only saw it because you were like looking so carefully. The people on the bridge begin to panic and run as you like shout for them to run. Two of them like slip. One of them, this woman, just down into the ravine and like sickeningly hits the cliff on the way down. Splat. And another one is like hanging on to the rope desperately as the rest are like running. You see one of the mothers like picked up her kid and is like barreling as quickly as she can for the other side. And then you can see something move. It's perfectly camouflaged with the cliff face beyond, a lizard of some kind, enormous. And it's you can see now as its mouth opens, this like pink blob of a tongue, like ready to fire once again, and we'll roll initiative.
What the fuck?
Okay, so Garrock, you're the first one. You can like see this thing and you recognize it now to be like some sort of giant lizard that's got like this weird like tongue projectile that it's like ready to fire again. Its like eye on one side like swivels and like locks onto you, while on the other side of its head an eye like has like swiveled around to like look at something else. It's got these 3 great horns, one from its nose and 2 from the top of its head.
So Garrock kind of sees this, and at first he isn't sure what he's looking at, but once he realizes that this thing, this rock, looks like it's actually a living creature, he very, very quickly kind of reaches around his body and pulls his short bow off, and is going to start knocking an arrow. And as he does so, he's muttering to himself, once again, this magic that his mother has taught him, and he's reaching down inside of his pouch, and he actually kind of wraps this small string around the end of this arrow, casting Hunter's Mark on the creature, and he's going to draw back. How far away is the creature?
So from where you are, it's maybe 40 feet, okay. And you're still on the first side that you were on.
Correct. Okay, cool. And then he's going to loose. I am still at disadvantage with the levels of exhaustion that I have, so let's see how that works. That's not bad. 17.
That hits.
Excellent. Okay. So D6, and then also the Hunter's Mark. It's going to be 11 points of damage. Is this a monstrosity by any chance?
That's a good question. I don't know, nor do they think of it. It's probably a magical beast. Is that still a thing?
Possibly. But probably a beast more than a monstrosity.
Yes, it's not a monster. It's definitely like a natural thing.
Cool. Then that should be it for me.
Okay. The thing, like its one eye like swivels as the arrow like tunks into its shoulder, and like the eye on its head like turns around to look at its shoulder and then like turns back around to look at you. It like turns its head and the other eye is swiveling, and then they both lock onto you and you feel this like fear. And then like you can see its mouth opening and this like huge thick tongue projectile just fires out towards you. It's a natural 20, Jeremy. I'm so sorry. Oh my god. You are unfortunate. Okay, so just splat. It like splats onto you. You're gonna take cool. Yeah, good call on using D12s. I don't have any of those. Uh, 20 damage, bludgeoning, and like the tongue like wraps around you and it pulls you out of the saddle and towards it, and you are now grappled by the creature. You are in its mouth, and the rest of you can see like Garrock, obviously a bigger target than the other things that it's eaten so far, like halfway in its mouth. as it like begins to chew. It is going to move 20 feet up the wall. And then it's going to be Balthazar's turn.
Okay. Balthazar is going to... I think I'm going to Eldritch Blast. So I see Garrock being taken up the side of this cliff and sort of disappearing into this thing's mouth. And I sort of call out, I'm like, Garrock! And I concentrate for a second and pull into both of my hands. Well, one of my hands, since I only have one anymore. I keep forgetting I only have one arm. This glob, this globe of shadow, and I will hurl it at the giant chameleon on the side of the cliff face here. So it's going to be 2 beams. One is an 18 plus 6, so
sure.
24, and then the other one's a 10.
10 total, won't hit.
10 total. Okay.
So 1 hit.
All right. So 1 hit there with one of them. It's a D10. That's going to be 10 force damage with one of them.
Okay, nice. Okay, Vasco.
Vasco has been sort of trying to keep his crosshairs on the great beast, and as it scoops up, Garrock, he tries to level the sights at its gaping maw in an attempt to blast it. Let's see. That is a natty 20.
All right.
Oh my god. Okay. I can't remember what kind of damage it does, but
Okay,
that's
for a gun?
27 points.
Very nice. Okay.
Damage.
Yeah, so a cloud of smoke. And it like you see this big splat of blood as it like hits it in the shoulder and like comes out the other side of the leg. And it lets out, if you don't let it, and you know it's got Garrock in its mouth. Although you can hear it, Garrock, like a sort of, and I feel it's like fetid breath hot around you. Can you roll me, Mr. Coletta, a D10?
D10. That's a 5.
Okay, and another D10.
D10. That is a 9.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you shoot it in that leg. It like enters in with like a small entry wound, and there's like this spray of blood across the cliff wall as it like leaves this massive exit wound, and the thing like stumbles and then begins to fall. It's going to collide with the stone bridge. It's going to take 17 bludgeoning damage from that. And it is now free falling down towards the ravine.
With Garrock in its mouth still?
Yes. Yep.
Way to make my crit a bad thing, Lloyd.
It falls prone and it's like holding onto the wall. I don't know how it could fall any prone.
No, I'm not complaining. Well, I'm not complaining. I think it's funny.
I mean, in fairness, in the mouth is like the safest place to be, probably, if you're going to be hitting the ground, you know. Okay, that was Vasco. Is that it for you, Vasco? Do you have any more attacks or anything?
Yeah, but it takes 5 rounds to reload the thing, so I'll just say that's my turn. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So this like amazing shot from Vasco, and there's like a cheer that goes up from the people, those who aren't like at the edge, like looking down if they can see their kids. And we're back to the top. Garrock, you are hurtling. You can see like approaching quickly is like this fast flowing stream of water, like 100 feet down from where you are. And you can feel the thing's fear, and it's like, see it's like weird two-toed hands, like trying to grab onto something as it falls. But it is your turn. You are grappled. If you want to escape, it's going to be a DC 17.
Are there a lot of rocks and things in the water down below that I can see, or does it just look like it's just pure water?
It doesn't look deep. It looks kind of like, you know, white water, like very, you reckon there's quite a few rocks and stuff in there.
Damn.
Tuvrok is going ballistic at the side of the cliff. You can hear him like howling, like this really sort of sad laugh, because it's the kind of noise that they make, but it's just like this agonizing. And like for the rest of you, you're heartbroken. Even if you hate this creature, you can like see that it's upset and doesn't know how to help.
So, am I still held by the thing's tongue, or am I just in its mouth?
So you're grappled by the tongue is what you're grappled by.
Okay. Do I think cutting the tongue might be able to get me out?
Yes, I think you would think that.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to draw, if I can actually draw, I'm going to draw both my dagger and the jade knife that I traded for several weeks ago. And I'm going to try to just cut through this thing as much as I can. Unfortunately, I am at disadvantage for both of those, but let's see. A 14 on the first one.
Hit.
Nice. Okay, and then a 15 on the second.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so I get +2 on one of those. Okay, so that's 5, 6, 7 points of slashing.
Okay, so you can make an escape attempt, and I'm going to give you advantage on that escape attempt.
Excellent. Okay. Athletics.
Yep.
Oh my god. So I rolled a 2 and a 3. So that's going to be an 8.
Okay, so you're like slashing down into
my
the
dice are done with this.
into the thing's tongue, but you can like feel it. It's weird. It's like prehensile tongue, and so it's like wrapping around you. And like as you cut at one part, it like grabs another, like your other arm, and like pulls it into the this sort of like weird sac inside the tongue, and holds you firm. Okay, the giant chameleon is going to do literally anything it can not to hit the ground at 100 miles an hour. So it's going to lash out with its tail and try and grab onto like the side of the cliff. Okay, so you can see it's got this like spiral curved tail, and it like lashes it out, and you just see this like as it like smashes into the side of the cliff, but doesn't actually grab onto anything. There's nothing there to grab onto, and you can see like it shoves its like 2-fingered claw into the side of the cliff to try and like slow its descent. But as it does so, it just like bounces off and like begins to spiral on its way down. Balthasar.
I'm not quite sure what to do with my turn. I'm like sitting here looking at my spells like, what do I have? How deep is this ravine?
Like 100 or so feet.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, I'll Misty step down and catch him. Man, I'm not quite sure what to do. I think I will. I'm going to try and get these people under cover. So what I'm going to do is, it pains me to do so, but I have to turn
as
away.
You're thinking, there's like a shadow that falls and a darkness, and you're like standing there atop the cliff, and there's like this swirling, and you can see that like old building as if it was new. And like it's topped with like a golden like triangle at the top of it, and there are fires burning outside, and you can see that there is a man, and he's got this like black pelt over him, and he's got this claw on his hand, and there's like a person bent over an altar backwards, and he like reaches up chanting and like shoves it into the chest cavity and like pulls out a heart and throws it into a brazier, and then he like looks in your direction. I can save him, but one of these, and the eyes of Smoke Mirror like lock onto the people that you're carrying or taking with you, will be given to me at the altar.
I am speechless as I see this. What do you need me to do? You want one of these people?
You will tie one of the people to the building and leave.
Balthazar is going to spend his turn having an existential crisis, I think is what's going to happen here.
Yep, you can have inspiration for that, for sure.
Awesome. Okay.
Vasco. You see Balthazar, like his eyes like sort of glazed over, and he's as if he's like thinking about what to do, or maybe as if he sees something that's not there.
Yeah, I thought existential crisis was a bonus action, but whatever. I'm gonna. Are the rest of the people over the bridge now, Lloyd?
Yes, the last of them have made it. They were luckily far enough along that when the chameleon hit the bridge and broke it, that none of them were like thrown down into the pit.
Vasco's going to take a step right towards the edge. What can he actually see? Can he see if the lizard has hit the ground yet?
It hasn't. No, it looks like there's a bit more for it to go. It's not even halfway down.
There's literally nothing. Hold person doesn't hold people in the air, can it?
No, it does not.
No.
It'll just paralyze the thing, so it won't be able to save itself.
So it won't be able to save itself. I don't think there's really much he can do. He's gonna look down as the this creature falls into the mists, because he can't reach with anything that he's got. He can't. He certainly isn't jumping down after, unless. Does it look like there's a quick way down, Lloyd? Obviously, other than jumping.
Not quicker than falling.
Okay. I think. Oh man. Yeah, I think Vasco's just going to have to basically, like, he makes sure that everyone who has managed to cross safely is there, keeping his sword held high, sort of like keeping his eyes on the lizard. He wants to see what happens.
Okay. Garrock.
Okay, so the impending impact, kind of realizing that he's not going to be able to cut himself free, he's basically going to try to time this as best he can. He's going to attempt to wrench himself free and then essentially kind of dive away from this creature, just trying to aim for the deepest part of the water that he can make out.
Okay.
All right, so that's an athletics check. Still a disadvantage. 7 and 5 is 12.
To escape, unfortunately, not the tongue like still has you. And like as you like struggle, it's almost like quicksand. Like the more that you struggle, it's like those are the bits of the tongue that like pulls taut and holds you there. The chameleon is going to attempt once again to stop itself. It's going to try and like shove its hands and feet against the cliff and like hold on to something. No, it tries, and again, it's like rolling, and you can see like it's trying to use its tail for balance, and like this is obviously an expert climber. But as it like gets close, you can see like that the force of the fall is too much, and as it like gets close, it like bounces off the wall almost. You can actually hear like as like one of the arms, seemingly like a bone is broken, as it like bounces away from the side of the cliff face once again. Balthazar.
Balthazar is standing there just transfixed on the sort of this dark doorway of this temple. He's looking into this doorway like he can see into it, and he can to some extent with this devil sight that he's been granted. And he's just standing there staring into it. And he'll kind of shake his head. And I want to step into the temple and kind of look around.
Okay. Yeah, so as you step in, you can see it's like overgrown with like moss and vines and stuff like that. All of the stone has been cracked, so there is some little bits of light kind of streaming through. There's like the rest of the stone is sort of like a yellowish color, but there is a brown stone at the center, and you think it wasn't always that color. It is blood stained. It's sort of almost like a circle, and it's what you saw in the vision, a body like bent over it backwards, as like this priest like pulled out the heart. You can see that there are some golden, what do you call them? kind of like candle holders in the corners, and there's like this big stone brazier thing, which you saw the priest throw the heart into. And that's what you would see in here.
I would sort of start ushering in all the people just to get them in out of the rain and away from any more of these creatures that might be out there. Basically just getting them into cover so I have one less thing to worry about. Just the gears in my head just turning, trying to figure out what my next move is going to be.
Okay. Vasco.
Have I lost sight of them now? Have they gone too far? Have they disappeared into the mists, or
you won't lose sight of them? It's not far enough, so you'll be able to see them as they like crunch into the river below.
Should have been using this time to start reloading my flintlock, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. I think like since you were doing nothing anyway.
Yeah, but it still takes 5 rounds, so I guess he's still doing that, but he's making sure he's keeping an eye. He hasn't gone to that building. He's still on the edge of the cliff looking down, getting ready in case this thing comes back up.
Okay.
That's all he can really do.
No problem. Garrock. As you're like falling. And then there's like a as the comedian like smashes into the side of the wall, and another as it like it's trying to right itself. Although you can feel the grip almost lessening on you as it's like desperately trying to like save itself.
Okay. Yeah, man, like I don't think there's a whole lot else to try than just trying to get away from this thing. So he's just going to attempt it again. He's going to try to use the lapse in this thing's grip on him to try to wrench himself free once more. Okay, that's not bad. That's going to be a 19 that time around.
Okay, so you do it. You like take that jade knife and you just like shank it over and over again into the tongue until finally like you feel it like pull away from you like in pain. And for a moment you're like just falling, but you're falling in the thing's mouth. Like it's like you're like within it, so you are weightless for a moment as you like are falling, but you're no longer grappled.
Okay, so then I'm basically just going to plant my 2 feet basically kind of inside its lower jaw on either side of its tongue, and I'm just going to use that as a platform to leap as hard as I can off and away from it and try to dive for the water.
Okay, go for it.
Another athletics.
Athletics, yep.
Okay. That's a 14.
Okay, so you like leap away from it. There's still quite a bit to go, but you can see that you like as you're falling, you think you'll be able to correct your course a little bit. Like you think currently, if you continue on this, like you're going to like hit the wall before you hit the water. But you think that you're aware enough you'll be able to maybe jump off the wall and into the water, possibly. Although it's terrifying, you're just like falling at amazing speed, and this thing is like in the air next to you, and it's like lashing out with like claws and talons and stuff to try and hold on to the wall. What it is going to do, just going to try and grab the wall again. I think that's all it can do. Okay, so you're leaping and falling away from it, and you see it lodge its bottom right leg into like a crack in the wall. It's like scraping down, and then it like catches, and there's like this like crack as it like obviously breaks that leg, but it's now stuck like upside down on the side of the cliff face. It's like hanging, so you will be able to try and grab it if you were so inclined on your way down, but it's stopped. There's like an awful like crunch. It's obviously broken its leg, and you heard earlier its other front leg break, but its fall has stopped. Balthazar.
I continue ushering in the people, and as the last few people sort of get into the temple, I rush out to where Vasco is standing, sort of the edge of the cliff. What's the word? And I sort of look down.
Vasco turns to look at you, but his face is that of a jaguar, a black panther. He like turns to look, and there's like a smile. One life, all I ask, to save the life of he who saved yours. One life. This life is nothing to you. And then it's Vasco.
And I'm sort of like stumbling back from him, my eyes just wide. Sorry.
Vasco just looks at you with like disgust. He's just confused as to why you're reacting this way. And he says, "The beast, it has lodged itself into the walls of the ravine. There is no way we can reach him. The orc's life is in his own hands now."
Well, what if it wasn't?
Speak plainly, dead man.
I don't have time to explain the minutia of it to you, but if he doesn't make it out of that canyon, I might have a way to save him. But it's orc magic, Lord Commander. It's dark, sorceress stuff. The same stuff that brought me back.
Vasco, he does look disgusted, genuinely, and he sort of looks you up and down, and then looks down the ravine. This sorcery, this filth, it has served you in the past, has it not? It might be degrading, it might be bleak, it might be evil. But if any were to deserve such a thing, it would be him. What must you do?
I would sort of look at you with surprise. I'm not sure exactly, but it might require blood. It might require a sacrifice.
Vasco will probably put 2 and 2 together. And it'll
Let's wait to see if he makes it out of there, and we can discuss it further.
Vasco gives one nod and returns his gaze back down the ravine.
Okay, whose turn was that, Balthazar? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was my super brief and combat heavy turn. Yeah.
That's okay. I love it.
My turn looking down the ravine.
Okay, Garrock, you're now free falling. You see the thing has like arrested its fall, although it seems to be like an agony as it's hanging there from obviously a broken leg. You think it will probably be able to climb back up. It's obviously got that ability. And you are now plummeting. You think that if you were like inclined, you could probably grab onto its tail and like arrest your own fall. Otherwise, you could try and make for the water. You're probably 30 feet up now from the water.
And I still don't necessarily see any deep parts, even back towards the cliff.
That's a good question. You could make me your choice of a survival or a perception check to spot such a thing.
Okay, I'm going to go with perception on this one. Still at disadvantage. That's a natural 1, so a 5.
Yeah, it's hard to see. There's too much like white water and like stuff like that, so it's hard to know where it might be deep.
Okay, so he is going to attempt to reach out and grab this thing's prehensile tail.
Oh, I'm muted. Athletics, please.
Okay. 15.
Okay, so it's like curled, usually curled tail, which is like wrapped up as a spiral, is like out, and it's been trying to like search for a place, and you were able to like take the jade knife and just and like drag down and then like grab and pull yourself. It like lets out this terrible noise, but you're able to like just about hold on. You're now hanging from the tail of this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, he's gonna start bringing that other dagger around to try to better secure his hold on this climb.
Okay. Oh my god. Okay, so then the chameleon is going to try and like extricate itself from the thing that it's like lodged its leg in. It's also going to try and shake you off in the process, as it can feel you stabbing it. So it's going to first. I'll need you to make athletics or acrobatics against it. Your DC is 17.
Nope, only a 9.
Okay. So it like begins to like whip its tail, and like the dagger like cuts too deep. It's too sharp, and you curse the fact that it's like that you have good equipment for once, and it just like cuts through the skin, and then you feel that weightlessness again. Although now you're only 30 feet up from the water, as opposed to the 100 that you were. The thing like with like a grunt of pain like extricates itself from the cliff face. And begins to like turn itself around, and it'll be climbing down to the bottom as opposed to up. That's going to be its turn. Balthazar.
Man, I don't know. Let's see. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, I have Devil Sight, which allows me to see in the dark up to 120 feet. Can I see to the bottom of this ravine and see what's happening if I like sit there and peer into it?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to do that, and I see. Do I see Garok sort of like hanging on to the tail of this thing with his knife?
You actually see him be launched from it. Like he was holding on, but you see like this like trail of blood, and him being like launched away from the chameleon.
So I'm watching this, and I report to Vasco, and Vasco would see that my eyes have taken on this kind of this glassy black sort of sheen across them, almost like my eyes are made of obsidian. And I would look at him and say, "He lives for now."
These are dark days indeed for Vasco, being surrounded by sorcery and fell creatures and deadly ravines. And he just gives this this glassy, black-eyed Balthazar just like another distasteful look. But he remembers such powers had its use before. He is finishing up reloading his flintlock, Lloyd, as well, as he sort of weighs up in his mind what the next step is going to be if they lack this orc to guide them through the rainforests.
Yep. It is currently within shooting range. It's at the extreme end of the range, so you'd have disadvantage because it's at long range, but you would be able to shoot still. Did you finish reloading it, or are you still
This
doing
would
that?
be, I think, oh no, it's 5, isn't it? Not 4. Mm-hmm. If I've just been doing that, do I get any kind of like... Okay, what if I roll like a 10, then it will misfire instead of a 5 if I like...
I'll allow it.
Okay. Very kind. There's a disadvantage as well, so this is probably going to misfire. In fact, no, I'm going to wait.
Okay. So you're like frantically trying to reload. You've like cleaned out the inside of the barrel, and now you've like, like put the wick back in, like a new piece of wick that you've like bitten off with your teeth, and all the rigmarole that goes with loading one of these guns. And you're almost there. You've like put the bullet in, and now you're like pouring the powder in. It's getting there. Okay, Garok.
So I'm now falling again, though luckily the momentum that I had going is not quite as extreme. Is there still water down beneath me?
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Okay. Seeing that this creature is headed down the rocks, and knowing that it's possible that I might end up having to deal with him as well, I'm just going to aim for the water. Just try to find the deepest part that I can.
All right. You can give me an athletics, please.
12.
Okay. So here's what you see, Balthazar. You see Garrock, like, he's like falling, and then you see him like take on a sort of like diving sort of position, and then he slaps into like a rock and like bounces off into the river. There's like a crunch. You're going to take significant fall damage, although not as significant. It's going to be 14 fall damage. So you see him like aim for a piece of water, but there's like a rock hidden there, and he just hits it and like almost bounces and then like is in the water. Are you still up, Garrock?
At first, no. It seems like that's it. He kind of bobs back to the surface of the water, face down, and kind of the current carries him several feet. And it's probably that moment of, oh shit, like he's not getting back up. And then all of a sudden his face comes up out of the water. He kind of rolls over and floats on his back, trying to keep an eye on this thing. And yes, I'm at 1 hit point because of restless endurance.
Awesome. Again. So for the fact that you just hit the rock from like 30 feet up, I feel like something has to happen. So I'm going to get you to roll on the table. So can you roll me a d10, please?
5.
Okay. And another d10?
7.
Okay. Can you roll me a d4?
2.
Okay. So
no, this is not a good time for Lloyd to leave.
No shit.
That was like, he was gone. That was so weird.
Oh my god.
Like, he's just building the classroom.
Oh man.
Oh, he's back.
I'm gonna Eldritch Blast the shit out of this chameleon on my next turn.
What happened there? I got kicked from the game.
Yeah, he just went.
No, dropped out. Right before you gave me the juicy details of what happened.
Okay. Yeah, so you're stunned for 2 rounds from that. So you won't be able to act, which is not helpful. But yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay, I've lost the initiative list. I think after Garrock, it's Balthazar.
I believe the chameleon goes before me.
Okay.
As much as I hate that.
Yes. You can see it like limping, and it's like crawling down now, and it's gotten to the, it's going to get the 30 feet down that actually its movement will be halved for having 2 broken legs. So it's going to move 15 feet down, and you can see it like searching around the water, and you can see its eyes like circling around, trying to find Garrock. But nonetheless, it's just going to like stay there, and it's actually going to press itself against the side of the wall. And you'll see it like quickly, its skin will begin to change pigments as it tries to like hide itself from view. That's going to be its turn. Balthazar.
I'm going to attempt to hit it with a couple of Eldritch Blast beams here.
Yeah, I think your Devil Sight means that you will see right through that.
Perfect.
Camouflage. All
right. So that's 18 and 16. Do both of those hit? Awesome. Okay. Here's the first one is going to be 6 damage, and the second one is going to be 7 damage. So 13 total force damage with both of those beams. So I just sort of reel back, collect shadows in my hand, and just hurl them, and these 2 sort of globules just and home in on this chameleon at the bottom of the ravine.
Yeah, you can see Vasca, these like 2 blasts like hit what looks to be solid rock, but then there's like a movement and like an eye twitches and it like begins to move away from where it had been hit. But it is definitely still up. Vasco, it's your turn.
Vasco's going to look to their belongings, and as I recall, just remembering, we have a few explosives, don't we?
You do.
So Vasco is going to grab one of these things, and he's going to walk back to the edge, and he's basically going to underarm hurl this explosive up and down, and he's going to follow it with his flintlock, aiming to shoot the thing when it reaches the height of the lizard.
Okay.
Whatever I need to do for that, Lloyd.
Yep, I like it. I think it'll take at least a round for it to get down there. So what you can do for this turn is like aim. So you take advantage on the shot when
Perfect.
it
Very
happens.
kind. Very gracious. Thank you.
Okay. That's Vasco. Garrock. Yeah, you're floating in the water. You're stunned. What are you thinking, if anything?
His head is just reeling right now, and he's thankful that he's still alive and questioning how it's possible that he's still alive. But this is not the first time that his mother's spirit has seemed to kind of guide him away from the edge, from crossing the threshold. And he's just trying to figure out what exactly he's going to do next, knowing that this creature is likely not far behind him. He's going to start looking for any kind of mud that he can find near the edge of the riverbank, as he's going to extract himself from the water.
Okay. Yep. So when you're like dazed condition, you're like looking around for that. And we will get to that when you are no longer stunned from the fall. The chameleon is going to finish its crawl down onto the actual shore. And it is going to begin to move into the water if it can, but it won't be able to get there yet, as it's got half movement because it has two awfully broken legs. So it's like you can see now as it gets to the bottom, it's actually dragging itself along the floor and like leaving this big sort of like, I don't know what the word is for that, but like a rivet in the sand or the muck as it's dragging itself towards the water to try and escape. A rut, exactly. Thank you. Okay, and Balthazar.
I'm gonna Eldritch Blast again. There's no reason not to. I'm just trying to finish this thing off. I see it, getting closer to Garrock, and I'm just gonna try and hit it before it can get there. Ooh, not great. So 14 and 10.
14 hits.
Okay, great. That's gonna be 5 force damage.
Okay, another. Vasco, the grenade that you have dropped is like falling down, and you've been like following it very carefully with your pistol. You can make your shot with advantage.
To play fair though, Lloyd, you did say that the lizard would be at disadvantage for the range. So would the grenade also be? So is it just a normal roll, or?
I guess it depends when you want to detonate it. You'd have to detonate
right
it
next to it.
Yeah, so then yes, it would. So it'll be a wash, just normal attack.
Okay. That is an 18 on the die, which means that's a 21.
Excellent. Yeah. So like time slows down. You can see Vasco like following it, and then just like you like follow the bullet down, and it like smashes into one side of the grenade and out the other side, and then there's like a of fire as the thing explodes. There's a huge like cloud of steam from the or vapor, I should say, from the water. And when it clears, you can see the thing just like. Can you give me damage? You can put the.
I don't know what the damage of the grenade is, I'm afraid.
Neither do I. I feel like it was.
I have it. 1 second. It's 2d6.
Okay.
Fireball, wasn't it? No, that's not a fireball. 2d6. That is 11 points of damage.
Okay. Let's see. I could actually do it.
Oh, it was 4d6, I'm pretty sure. Because
I think it was 2d6. I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay.
Matt has it written down. I'm going to trust him.
Right.
Nonetheless, 11 is enough. So when the fire clears, you'll see it like it's like badly burnt on one side. Like one of its eyes is like melted, and it just like tries to stand, then reels over and stops moving. And finally, it dies at the bottom of the ravine. Garrock, like a little bit of time will go by before you like gain your senses, and you could like without too much difficulty like dig yourself in, like grab a rock and pull yourself to the shore, lie on your back and just like breathe heavily.
Yeah, and like as he kind of rolls over, kind of staring up at the sky, it takes a second for his vision to kind of focus even. And as it does so, he can see Balthazar and Vasco kind of way up at the top of the cliff. and he just kind of gives like a half-hearted like motion, just letting them know that he's okay, or at least he's alive.
So the thing like groans a few times as it like finally expires. And at the top of the cliff, you can like look down and see Garok do his little thumbs up or wave that he is still alive. The people in the temple are standing there in the rain as it falls. We're going to take a quick break there, and we'll be back thereafter to see what happens when we return. Oh my god, that was way more intense than I expected it to be. Right, I'm back. If you're watching this and you don't know, tomorrow I've got a Kickstarter going live for Iskloft, which is my Viking setting. If you watch this channel, I'm certain that you're aware of it. It'll be going live tomorrow, so hopefully you'll help me make that a thing. That'd be great. I'll spam this channel with links in the morning when it goes live. Poor Garok, man. Like, that wouldn't have been nearly as bad a fight if the crit on the comedian hadn't been it falls prone, as it's like holding onto the wall.
Right. And I actually just realized, I think I might have cheesed that. I don't think that we've had a long rest. So technically speaking, my restless endurance is not back yet.
Oh,
So I might actually be needing to make death saves.
that's true. Yes, you didn't have a long rest. Definitely not.
Okay.
Or else you would have gotten rid of some of that exhaustion.
I think there were 2 rounds that have passed since I hit 0. If I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's the first one. That's a 17. So that's. I don't think death saves ever get disadvantage.
I don't think so. I don't think they're actually like a check as such.
Yeah, I don't think they count like the same as a normal saving
No.
throw. Okay, so the first one's a success. The second one is only a 7, so that's a failure and a success.
Okay.
Third one is an 11, so that's 2 successes. Fourth one is a 17. Okay. So I'm stable but not conscious.
Yes. Okay.
Oy vey.
Indeed. I was like, this will be a cool encounter, like a big chameleon.
It was a cool encounter.
I'm trying to ape the great Dave Breon Jackson as much as I can with like his third pillar stuff and like putting encounters in interesting places. Because if that had just been on the jungle floor, that would have been an easy encounter or like a boring one, right? It just would have been like, here's a block of hit points to kill. But because of like the variables, you had like the people and stuff, I was like, yeah, maybe. So I'm trying to do a bit more third pillar stuff whenever I can.
Absolutely. Yeah, he has a lot of really brilliant insights.
The best. Just the best dude.
How to set up really fun combats that where you're not just fighting the monster, like you said. You're fighting the environment, or you're fighting some kind of hazard, or what have you.
Yep. Shout out to Dave Breon Jackson. Get him on the YouTubes and Critical Hit Publishing, where he makes the survival books. Check those out too. They're rad.
What are they called? Cinematic
Environs. Yeah. Yep, I've got a bunch of them. Super good. Actually, today I was like searching through AbTab to find. I knew he did one about jungles, and I was like searching through AbTab trying to find the jungle one because I don't have a book on jungle stuff yet.
You hear that, DBJ?
Are you rolling death saves?
Yep, because we hadn't had a long rest, so I actually didn't have my restless endurance or relentless endurance back yet.
Oh god, yeah, you'd already used it.
Because I used it in the fight with Snaketooth. Actually, I think I've used it in pretty much every fight that we've had. Well, except for the one at Oxbow Keep, actually.
How many have you made?
I passed. I got
okay.
3 successes and 1 failure.
Okay.
So it's close.
Yeah, that was intense. Big chameleon. It's just interesting if you like take an animal that's like not very scary, but then you make it real big, it becomes real scary. Like chameleons, a nightmare creature. It's a nightmare creature. I don't know if you've ever seen one, but they're very scary. Okay, so you guys are at the top of the cliff looking down. You can see Garok sort of like twitching at the base. He doesn't seem to be moving, but he is breathing.
He's down there. I think he's still alive, barely. I can get down to him. Getting up will be more difficult.
We will attach the rope used for our crossing. It'll aid your descent and ascent. And Vasco's going to tie his own rope to the other to ensure that there's plenty of length to get down to the ravine, to the bottom.
And while he's doing that, Balthazar will concentrate, and he keeps hearing the voice in his head as he's drawing energy. He keeps hearing, "One life to save his." And he pushes it out of his mind, and he concentrates, and the shadows kind of swirl around him momentarily and then completely overtake him, and he's gone. There's just a vaguely humanoid sort of smoky cloud. And I'm casting gaseous form.
Rad.
And I'm going to use that to float all the way down the ravine to get down beside Garok.
Yeah, you can do so. It takes a bit longer when you're floating, and you kind of get the impression then as you're floating, like how far it actually was. And it's a miracle that he hasn't just been splattered. And as you like reach the bottom, you're able to coalesce back into your form.
I come up beside him, sort of shaking him lightly. Garok, wake up.
Imagine there's probably a gash, probably somewhere on my head from where I hit the rock, and I don't think he responds.
Oh, shit. And I would sort of look around. I am realizing I don't really have a way to heal him, but I have
Or do you?
or do I? I would sort of call up to Vasco. He's alive, barely. Can you get Diego down here?
Vasco just turns and says, "Brother Diego, how are you at climbing?"
Brother Diego would have been in with like the people, like keeping them calm and stuff, and he would like turn to look at you and just like shake his head.
I don't want to have to order you.
I think he like looks around, he like scratches the back of his head. Fine.
Fine, sir.
I take my orders from the father. And he'll like move his way over to the edge of the cliff and like look down it. He'll like start taking off his armor as he will be unable to climb in it. And that'll take him a couple of minutes.
In the meantime, Vasco is going to go back to the civilians. And he goes to one of them, the woman he spoke to before, and says, "Are there any injured?"
She would nod. There's a couple who were like hurt themselves, like tripping or like running and stuff like that. There's also, you can see like several inconsolable women as several of the children are just gone, either devoured by the thing or had fallen down into the ravine below. And there are just screams and screams of grief.
This isn't Vasco's forte. And rather than increase the stress and the guilt in the situation, that he is going to instead look about to see if there's any food that he can gather, maybe from his own rations and from maybe Brother Diego's rations that he's left at the top of the cliff to provide the civilians with at least something to give them energy.
Sure. There was like a half roasted baby piglet when you took the orc camp, so you could like divide that up around the remaining people here, and also like take some of like the trail rations and like hard cheese and stuff like that you have, and divide it amongst the people.
Yeah, Vasco sneers. He has never really served food to anyone in his life, but he sees that they need something, so he grits his teeth and gets someone it.
So a bit of time will go by, and Brother Diego is going to try and climb down the cliff. I'm going to materialize what I think Brother Diego's athletics skill is. It's probably at least +2, would be my guess. So that's what I'm going to go with. Oh, God. Okay. So he begins. I wish you could see what I just saw, which is everyone do this. It's fantastic. So he gets 3 on the die. For a 5, so he's like starting to climb, and he gets a little bit down, and he begins to slip. This is going to look so manufactured now, but it really did happen. So he begins to slip, is what you would see. He's not far from you, Vasco.
Is there an attempt I can make to dash over and grab him, or did he literally
Yes.
slip as he went over the edge?
That's what I think. Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna lunge to try and grab hold of him. Then I suppose. Is it, what check would I have to make?
Athletics.
Okay, not so bad. I've got an 8 on that. That's 13.
I don't think so. I had 15 in my head to like
I
jump
was
and grab
feeding people. Yeah.
So he begins to like slip and fall. You can see like the muddy sort of cliffside at the top here. He's like trying to grab on. He pulls like a couple of branches, like roots out of the thing, and just begins to fall. If there's anything anyone can do, that would be great. Otherwise, I'm just going to make him roll again and see if he can catch himself on the way down.
I have nothing.
Okay, so he falls. I'm going to actually put the light and the camera here so you know where he's going to
fall off a cliff. That's so ridiculous.
Oh, what the fuck is it? The fucking light. It's a 19 anyway. Okay, so Diego, he's like falling, and then he like takes his mace and just like shoves it into the side of the muck, and it begins to like arrest his fall until he's like hanging on with both hands, and it's like lodged between some rocks, and he's able to like compose himself and continue the rest of the climb down. It takes him a good while. He takes it very, very, very slowly. And almost comically carefully. Maybe it's like annoyingly slow to those of you who are watching. But he makes it down the rest of the climb and is able to like come over to Garok. You like look at you, Balthazar, and look at Garok, and like consider how much of his like remaining magic he's going to use to heal this person.
He lives, but barely. Do you have anything left?
I do, although it will mean that we won't have that for whatever comes next. And it seems that always something comes next.
This orc is our guide. He knows the land, yes, but more specifically, he knows these tribes better than anyone. And beyond that, Brother Diego, this bastard saved my life. I owe him everything. I will stay up all night on watch. I will ensure you don't need to use the rest of that magic if you just save him now, please, because the alternative, and I'll kind of look up to that cliff face where I know that temple is just looming there in the darkness. The alternative is not an option I want to even consider. Please.
I like furrow his brow at the mention of like an alternative, and I think his like indoctrinated mind would like go over the various heresies he imagines before he would like nod sort of begrudgingly and like rub his hands together and begin to like chant a prayer to the Father, and he'll cast Cure Wounds, which I assume he has as a cleric. Should have asked him for a sheet before this, would have been a good call. But nonetheless, he'll cast Cure Wounds. I rolled it. You are going to get 12 hit points back, Garok. So as the like magic of the Father like infuses you, you can feel this like warmth come over you, and like some of the pain is numbed, Garok, although not all of it, and you burst into life.
And he kind of takes another breath. This is becoming too regular of a thing. He kind of rolls over onto his side, trying to get into a position that's a little more comfortable and easy to breathe. He's probably got broken ribs, internal bruising. He's not in hot shape at all, so he's not going to go far.
I would hand you a water skin. Here, drink a little bit.
Yes, thank you. And he'll drink. Is it dead? Did it die?
Yeah, it's dead. It's hard to kill, just like you.
Oh, sometimes I wish it would just be over with. I'm tired of coming close so many times.
Well, Vasco calls the shots, and he has not given you permission to die yet. Okay.
That bastard. Oh, at least I have something to look forward to, I suppose.
Listen,
He'll kind of try to sit up and then realize that's a bad idea. Lay back down.
listen. I have a way to get you up there without you needing to climb up that rope.
I like the sound of this.
I think it's the only time I can do this again. I don't think I have much left. Diego and I are going to have to take the rope up. And I would kind of look at Diego with kind of this apologetic look on my face.
There's a look on his face that's a mix between like fear as he like looks up where he almost lost his life falling, and also like I think relief that he doesn't have to subject himself to whatever vile sorcery you were going to offer.
So I put a hand on Garok, and this is the first time I'm actually casting a spell on somebody else. And so this requires concentration. I close my eyes. I'm going to turn you into smoke, Garok. You'll be able to float. You'll be able to reach the top of the cliff very easily. Once you get up there, you just need to visualize yourself in order to take your physical form again. Otherwise, I'm not sure you're going to be able to not be smoke anymore. All right.
He kind of looks over at Diego, kind of like making sure that he's not going to try to do something about this.
I think his like jaw is set, and you can see it like clenching as he's like sitting there. But he says nothing, although there is clear anger on his face.
Don't worry, I just did this to myself, and it's how I got down here. Okay. And I would concentrate for several seconds, and there would be a low sort of rumbling sound. And again, the shadows begin to coalesce, spiraling around Garok's prone form. And then in an instant, he is overtaken by the smoke, and what's left is this sort of vague shape of Garok made up of smoke and shadow. And I would nod to this shape and then point up as I cast gaseous form and use my last spell slot for the day.
So you can begin to float, Garok, but you notice as you still have senses, but it's dark. It's as if it's night. Though the sun blares overhead, it is black. And there is like this sound of the jungle and this deep-throated roar that you can just hear building, but never like achieves an actual roar, just this constant sort of. And as you like make your way to the top, you can see that temple like restored with this golden sort of triangle at the top of it, and like flames lit of braziers of elder days, it seems. But when you make your way to the top, you are able to coalesce.
And as he kind of regains his corporal form, he kind of is giving like a half concerned stare at this temple. When he comes out of the gaseous form, is it still pristine?
No, it has returned to like the ruined state that you had seen previously, like overgrown with moss and ivy and cracked stones.
So he's definitely kind of giving it this kind of sideways glare before he kind of shakes it from his concentration and turns across the ravine to see Tuvarok on the other side. And he kind of exhales with visible concern and looks towards these stone steps and what remains of them to see if there's something he can't figure out, a way to get his companion across.
So the gap in the middle of the steps, you think Tuvarok could make that jump easy, but the question is, can the steps hold the weight of Tuvarok? You also know that there has to be a way around this thing, and that like Tuvarok will always find his way to you. When he like sees you come up and like reform, he's just like yelping like crazy, and like his tail is wagging, and he's like just delighted. He's like running back and forth, although he's like wary of getting onto the steps, but he's like really excitedly like chuckling.
So I think Garak actually goes to this temple, though he's wary of approaching it. He can see some of the women and children kind of hanging around the doorway. He kind of goes to it, and he finds this little roasted piglet, and he's actually just going to like rend one of the legs off of it, and then kind of go back out and wave it in the air so that Tuvarok can see it, and then he's going to just kind of like place it in his bag, as if to show that it's there waiting for him whenever he gets there.
Yeah, Tuvarok will like turn and look one way and like, and then turn the other way, and he'll like run in the direction of the higher cliff, obviously in an attempt to go around it. The people in the pyramid would definitely shy away from you as you like enter. You would see like kids and stuff like run behind their mother's skirts, and the mother like step back away from you as you like enter in and pull the leg off the piglet. Balthazar and Diego are going to have to climb. Now, I imagine that at this stage you would have set up ropes and stuff like that to ensure that there's no more unfortunate accidents of climbing. So you can make this with advantage, Balthazar.
That would be much appreciated. Hey, awesome. 18 on the die, plus 4, 22.
Excellent. Yep. And Diego gets an 18. So between the two of you, like with the ropes and stuff, are able to like pull yourself up. It is very tiring to pull yourself up here. You're going to both get a level of exhaustion when you get to the top from like climbing that 100-foot cliff. But you have made it to the top and like can both like lie on your back, like breathing heavily, and finally relax.
I take a few minutes to catch my breath, and then I get up and I would put a hand down and help Diego up. And I would sort of nod to him, just wordlessly thanking him for saving Garak. And then I would step inside the temple. There's only one way in and one way out of this temple, right? The doorway, or is there multiple sort of exits?
So it's just, it looks like one small room.
Okay.
I mean, it's not tiny, but you know, it's not like cavernous or anything.
Right.
It's purpose made for sacrifices, it seems to you.
And I will sort of walk/stumble over to Vasco and sort of lean against whatever pillar or wall is nearby just to hold my weight. Diego is back up. Garak alive. I await your orders, but also humbly request that we sleep here. Set up a perimeter and get some rest, or we're going to die out in that jungle.
Vasco looks over to brother Diego, who probably gives him that nod saying, "I'm all out, man."
Yeah, 100%.
Because he would take Diego first, his word first, and he just gives a nod. He says, "Get a fire going. We'll secure the perimeter. All the civilians are to remain inside and guarded."
You would find that when you like go to light a fire in that brazier, that it doesn't take any work. Like the second the sort of sparks hit it, it like bursts up into a big flame, and will burn brightly, even with no fuel.
And I imagine I'm a little too tired to be troubled by that, but I do sort of like note that curiously, sort of realizing that there's still magic latent in this place.
Yeah, Garak is definitely, having seen the shift in this place's visage, he's definitely going to kind of stay a little away from this brazier if he can. But he is going to approach Balthazar and Diego, both in turn. Once he's recovered just a little bit of his stamina, and he's going to thank Brother Diego, but especially with Balthazar, he's going to kind of find a moment, and he's going to sit down next to him, kind of lowering himself to the ground against his back against the wall of this place. Gotha, I think only thank you is sufficient. I do not know what would have happened if, well, you had not been here.
You probably would have died at the bottom of that ravine.
Yes, indeed.
We both owe each other, Garak. Whether we like it or not, we're bonded. I'm glad that you're here.
Likewise, can be said, Gotha. Although, maybe I am Gotha too now. For it feels as though I am not as unfamiliar with the world of the dead as I once was. They've come very close many times. Just in the last few days, even.
When you were falling, I saw it again, the smoking mirror.
Yes.
It told me that if I wanted to save you, it needed a life. And I would sort of look at all of these people and they're, sort of finding a place to lay down, eating rations, drinking water, holding each other. It wanted one of these people in exchange for you.
I think Garak, that might be the first moment when Garak realizes that there's several individuals who are now missing that he didn't notice before. And there's kind of like this stone that drops into his stomach. You did not make another deal with that thing, did you? You did not make this exchange.
No, I didn't.
Oh. Alta, you cannot. Your fate is tied up with this darkness. You cannot let it take over you.
As horrific as the request was, I can't say I wouldn't have done it, Garak.
The deal that was made on your behalf was not something that was done lightly. My mother, she gave much to save your life. But I do not want you to feel beholden. If that kind of exchange is what is asked of you, you should not do it. Even though these others believe that it would damn your soul, I think it would cause a wound upon you that would never heal.
It asked me to come here in the jungle. I haven't told anyone that yet. I'm looking for something, a gem. Told me if I could find it that it would fix this, and I would sort of rub the stump of my arm.
These beings they're false. They make promises that sometimes they have consequences you cannot foresee. They come with grave costs. If we are here because of this creature, then it makes sense as we have found the kind of danger we have.
As thankful as I am to still be alive, Garak, it probably would have been best for me to die.
You and me both, I think. But it's not for us to decide. Not yet.
Maybe
Plus,
when I get the gemstone,
maybe
maybe I could be over. Maybe I don't know.
I think the smoking mirror is like a spider. I think you are in its web. I don't know that you will ever be free. But if there is a way, we will find it. We'll find it together, I think. But in the meantime, he kind of slaps Balthazar on the shoulder. We have to protect these people from Lord Vasco, if nothing else. And he kind of gets up and kind of makes his excuses.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think maybe we should buy one another a drink. We're going to get back to that lovely town we were in.
I'm going to need more than one. Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
So you sleep as best you can, and you eat whatever you can. So there's not enough food for all of you. There's all these people with you, so you eat sparingly. Nonetheless, you're able to sleep. But as you sleep, you all have a dream, same dream, of a building like this one, but much larger. These stepped pyramids, at the top of which there is this great red gem, and you can hear this coming from it. There is a crowd assembled of thousands, tens of thousands, who are like chanting over and over again, "We are his slaves, he by whom we live, the enemy of both sides, Lord of the near and the nigh, the night, the wind, the possessor of sky and earth, the smoking mirror." They chant it over and over and over again. And then it like reaches this crescendo, and they're all just like screaming in exultation as this thing walks into the top of the pyramid, this anthropomorphic black jaguar creature. And there's like a person bent backwards over this altar, and it like reaches down with its clawed hand and pulls a heart out of the chest of that person and devours it. And everyone is screaming in exultation as the sun reaches its zenith. And there's just screams of glory and of happiness at this ritual, over and over and over again. And you can just hear this of a beating heart as the gem pulses with light. And you'll wake up. You'll all have had that dream, including all of the women and the children. You can, as you wake up, many of the children are like crying, confused.
I think Garak has kind of roused early, and he's kind of standing outside of this this temple, just by a few paces. And whoever the next person from the party that wakes up is going to look at them with stern seriousness. Do not stay here any longer. We need to go. This place is a place of evil.
Now, Orc, you will take the lead. You will guide us from this place. We have lingered here too long. And as you're about to go, Vasco catches your shoulder and he looks you dead in the eyes and he says, "If you fall again, we will not waste further resources upon you."
I understand.
Good.
So you guys would have had a long rest here. It was safe, and you feel surprisingly like spry and well rested. Whether that's like some foul sorcery or just the fact that you've been safe for the first time in a few days, it's hard to know. And Garak, you can remove 2 levels of exhaustion instead of 1 for completing that rest. And you can start trying to find your way home from where you are. I'll need a survival from you, Garak, if you're trying to lead them home to Paletree.
So I realized after all of that I actually have the Wanderer ability. So I always recall general layout of terrain.
Oh, right. You can't be lost unless it's magical, right? Something like that?
It's from my background.
Okay.
So it's just because I'm an Outlander. Yeah, yep. Outlander.
Okay, so then that being the case, like once you find the path, you're able to lead this group back to Paletree. Although a couple of hours into your journey, not far now from Paletree, you think from a different direction, you do come across something a little bit unusual. You'll see like the ruins of a small house, it looks like. Only 2 walls remain standing, barely, and like they're overgrown massively. There's like this little pedestal with an idol on it, made of jade. It looks like a very pregnant woman. It's about a foot tall, but it has the head of a tiger. It's got 2 snakes for arms. And it has like the overall shape of like a female ape as opposed to like a woman. It's there. Next to it, there's like a sword like placed against the side of the wall, and what looks like moss in the shape of a man that's like melted against the wall, that's grown there, like this reddish moss. If you want to simply pass by it and notice it, that's fine. If you don't, you can wander.
Does it look like this stuff was original to this house, or was it like added after the fact?
It looks like the idol certainly has been there for a very, very long time. The sword looks pristine, like it might have only been there 20 minutes by the looks of it.
So I think Garak will probably wait here at this house for the rest of the column to kind of catch up to him. And he'll kind of look quizzically at Balthazar and Vasco. I do not know what to make of this.
Vasco sort of looks up, his cold eyes surveying this strange sight before them. Takes a few steps towards it, and he takes a knee and he rests a gauntleted hand upon the ground, and he closes his eyes as he uses his divine sense to see if he can sense anything, and let me see what that gives him. That's actually it's more specific than I remember. Celestial Fina Undead.
Okay, none of those.
Yeah, great.
But yeah, you see that same thing, this like outline of like vaguely man-shaped of moss against the wall, the sword like leaning there against the wall, and then the idol atop this pedestal.
Yeah, Vasco looks frustrated and he shoots like an annoyed glance over at Balthazar, and he just waves a hand dismissively at it and says, "What do you make of this?"
Balthazar comes forward and he looks over this scene, his eyes again taking on that obsidian sheen as I cast Detect Magic.
Yeah, so you can see that both the sword and the idol are magical. The idol gives off conjuration and enchantment. The sword gives off enchantment and evocation.
I would indicate the idol and the sword. These both hum with old magic. Powerful relics, Lord Commander.
You, Orc, can you divine anything from these markings?
My people typically are from the other side of these mountains, so some of these things are strange to me, but not all magic is good magic. But I'm sure you are well aware.
Yeah, you struggle to recognize it. Like they don't even have really snakes or apes or tigers on like your side of the. So it's a strange sort of amalgamation of like 3 creatures that aren't common in the plains. And so you're like looking at it and you're trying to figure it out, but it's not familiar.
I do not know. This place, I think, is some form of sacred spot. Maybe a shrine. I don't know. I don't think we should linger for long. The orcs here seem to revere very powerful dark gods. And while I'm not sure that this is one of them, probably not safe to hazard a guess.
The decision is yours, Lord Commander.
This is a dangerous place. But to defeat an enemy, we must know them. This weapon, if it does emanate a power, it could be useful. Take it up, one of you. And Vasco draws his sword.
I would sort of look at Garok like, this guy for real?
Yeah, he kind of matches the gaze, kind of shakes his head. Like, I tried to tell him. I think, why not? He's going to remove a section of cloth or something from his pack, maybe his bedroll even, and he's going to kind of carefully drape this bedroll over this blade, not really wanting to make any contact with it directly. And he'll kind of use this blanket to wrap around the sword and pick it up. And his intention is to carry it directly to Vasco.
Okay. So you like approach and like pull the sword away. There's like this of spores that like launch from the moss. There's actually this weird sound that goes with it, like a sort of like laugh almost. Maybe it's the wind. I need you to make a Constitution saving throw, please.
You get +3 to that, thanks to my aura.
Okay, so that's a dirty 23.
Okay, so there's like this, and you're able to like bring your forearm over your hand and mouth to avoid breathing anything in, and even as like some of the spores like land on your hand, you like take a piece of cloth and like quickly rub them off and like move back from there as quick as you can.
He kind of stumbles backwards out of this small hut, kind of waving his hands in front of his face, and then kind of inspecting where he saw the spores land on his hand, seeing if he needs to take further measures.
Yeah, there would be a few, and I think you would like pour water and just like scrub them off as quickly as you can, or alcohol probably rather, and like rub them off as quick as you can, like being experienced in the kind of like stuff that spores and stuff can do.
He kind of shoots Vasco a little bit of a look, and shakes his head. If you desire the sword, as much as I warned you, then it's going to have to be something that you get yourself.
Vasco stares at the sword and then he looks at the moss shape that looks like a man. Perhaps that would be the fate of any that succumb to this place. He looks at Balthasar. Have you any magics, tricks that could bring the sword to us?
I could try something. So Lloyd, I have the Grasp of Hadar invocation, which allows me to pull things with my Eldritch Blast.
Okay.
That's the only thing I can think of, is shoot this thing with Eldritch Blast and try and pull it 10 feet towards me.
All right, I'm into it.
So I would kind of look at Vasco and Garuk, and I would kind of say, stand back a ways. I have never tried this before. And I will stand back about 20 feet, fire an Eldritch Blast at the sword, and use Grasp of Hadar to try and pull it 10 feet towards me.
Okay. So just go ahead and make an attack. You can do that with advantage because it's not moving.
Cool. That's a 24 to hit.
Yes. So without any issue, you can like take the time and like point and then like blast it and like pull it back. As you blast, the force is going to like send up spores from the man right by the sword. But luckily nobody's standing very close. You can see them like disperse up into the air as the sword is pulled 10 feet towards you.
I would sort of nod, thinking maybe that wouldn't have worked. And I look at Vasco. Seems to have worked. Should I retrieve it?
Indeed. Inspect it.
So I will walk up. Again, still using detect magic with concentration. Does it still have a magical aura around it after being pulled away from the wall? Okay. I will attempt to grab it by the hilt.
Yeah, you can do so and pick it up. It's well made and well balanced. It's a longsword. You can see like the blade is sort of waved. Waved, is that the right word? Kind of like a kriss or something, you know, like not a spiral, like a wave. Very, very sharp. Go ahead.
Just gonna say a snake sword because you get snake daggers.
Yes, something like that. Yeah. And you can see that like the pommel is two snakes facing each other. It's a Conan reference there that I didn't realize until right now. So it's exactly that symbol, basically, from Conan that you can very clearly picture. Like these two snakes that end up facing each other, as is the crossguard. Yeah, and it's beautifully made. Gold on both the hilt and the pommel.
A fine weapon, dead man. Your abilities have proved to be most useful. Wear it at your side.
If that is your wish, Lord Commander.
And what about the idol?
Sorry, yeah, the idol. I would nod towards it. And the other item, Lord Commander?
Is it still resting where the spores are?
Yes, undisturbed by even the force of the Eldritch Blast. It didn't wobble. It does look very valuable. It looks to be made of jade with like the tiger's head being gold.
It would be a shame to abandon such a prize. What power, what resources do you have left, Balthazar? Are you able to draw it to us?
And before he's even finished talking, I would fire off another Eldritch Blast, attempting to pull it 10 feet towards me.
Yep.
19 to hit.
Absolutely. So you like pull it towards you, and it like falls into the like onto the stone, and the stone cracks, not the idol.
Oh wow. I will walk up and attempt to grab it.
It is weirdly heavy. Like heavier than it should be, you think, for like the size of it. It's about a foot in length or like tall. But as you like try and lift it, it weighs like as much as you do, maybe more. As you're like trying to lift it up.
And I would sort of be struggling visibly with it. This may be too heavy to carry, Lord Commander. It's shockingly heavy.
Were you not able to recover your strength last night, dead man?
He has one arm.
It's very heavy, Lord Commander. If you would attempt to lift it, I'm sure you would agree with me.
He's gonna try and lift it.
Can you give me an athletics?
Sure. That is a 19 in total.
You're unable to do so. Like you put both hands around it, and you're just like trying to pull, and it's like not budging. It's very, very heavy. You get this sense as like you lift it for a second off the ground, and like it has, like you're the only thing holding it. You can hear this like, like of an ape. like echoing in the jungle, but then as you like put it down, it's gone.
Do you need a rest, Lord Commander, to gather your strength?
Silence, did you hear that?
Hear what?
The call of some creature.
No, the jungle is a bit of a din for me, though. I didn't hear anything in particular.
There is some curse upon this thing.
Perhaps we should leave it where it lies. Maybe even destroy it if we have the means. He kind of looks to Diego for support in this.
Yeah, he's like got his arms folded and he's like watching and like shaking his head. He actually like when you lift it and you like say, "Do you hear that?" He like begins to mutter a prayer to the Father under his breath, and he says, "We should not track with such things. It can only lead to darkness and death." An idol to some forgotten god. Heresy.
I fear that it is not a forgotten god.
There's only one god.
There is only one god on your side of the wall, my friend. But out here there are many.
Enough of your bleating words, Orc. Here it shall remain. Damned thing that it is anyway.
So your group will move away, and as you kind of like do so, Vasco, you like look over your shoulder one last time, and you think you can hear again this like echoing like ape somewhere in the jungle, like the rustle of a branch as you move away from it and back towards Paletree. It's the guts of another day or so before you arrive at Paletree, but you do arrive unharmed and unscathed. The rest of you who make it, probably exhausted, probably near starving at this stage, sharing food with so many for so long, but you're able to make it back into the town itself, the frontier town. You can bring the women and the children like to the physician who is here, who will like see them over and like make sure that they are healthy, and like they'll all be fed, as will you. And it's up to you.
It would be prudent to report to, and goddamn, I don't remember her name. Esme. It would be prudent to report to Esme. We have fulfilled our part of the bargain.
Except for the part where we said we'd kill that orc. He's still out there.
We did what we could.
We did what we could.
I certainly need a bed to lay my head in.
And we need to resupply. We still need to get to the fort.
This place is hell on earth, I think.
I would also want to see about maybe selling my old longsword since I have this new shiny one.
Yes.
While I'm here.
That's not a problem. So where do you want to go first, Esme, or eat, or rest, or?
I think that's the Lord Commander's call.
We shall speak with Esme immediately. Then we will know our next action.
So you can kind of like push your way through the crowds in the street, past the insane preacher, and into the red door. Although you'll see as you enter, like that it's busy as always, but you can definitely see sticking out like very, very obviously 3 brothers of the faith. You can see they all have either tonsures or like are bald with like an iron circlet around their heads. These like beautiful like white surcoats over their like pristine armor, standing out and almost glowing with their purity here in this like den of iniquity. And as you enter, like one of them like looks and like spots Diego, and they all rise and like will push past people to your group, and will basically like stop you from moving any further. And one of them will say, "Brother Diego, it is with great joy that we bring the tidings that your father has passed into the eternal service of the Father's court." And Diego like tries to hide his like sadness. He like looks like surprised at first, and then you can see this like look of deep regret come over his face, and then he like shakes it aside and like will smile as his like training demands. "I see. He was my father and now serves eternally." He like intones this like rehearsed response, and the brother responds, "Venerate the father." And he blesses Diego, and he says, "You know what must be done. We'll wait a day." And Diego nods.
Vasco is sort of looking a bit perplexed, these gleaming figures amidst the mud and the toil of ordinary people. What needs to be done, Brother Diego?
Duty. My duty to the father supersedes all others, and when there's an ordained brother in a noble family, it is their duty to return and execute the will, preside over any changes in rulership, and so on. I'm bound by duty. I must go. He looks none too happy about it, as he like again seems to intone like a rehearsed response.
Wait, go. I mean, Diego, I'm sorry for your loss, but you can't go. You've saved us far too many times on this side of the wall. Do you really have to leave?
But the commands of the Primus do not supersede the commands of the Father. I swore a great many oaths. I stood vigil in the great cathedral for days. This is my ultimate duty, and I cannot abandon it.
I understand.
Lord Commander, and he just like shakes his head and doesn't know what to say.
You have stood by us, Brother Diego, and you have served us well, and you have served the Father. It is with heavy heart that we see you go. But no, if we meet again, we will just have to find some way for you to escape your duties more easily. And he gives a slight curl of the mouth and smiles.
He like doesn't get the joke. He like looks at you and says, "There is no escaping duty."
The Father be with you, Brother Diego.
And you, Lord Commander. And he seems relieved, and looks at you, Garok.
Garok like kind of approaches from the direction of the bar, and he has two tankards with him. One of which he kind of gives a half smile and kind of thrusts towards Brother Diego. "Do not understand you in a lot of ways, least of all the ways of your faith. But you are a man of honor, you are a man of your word, and that I can respect. So, one more drink, I think, if it's okay with you, before you must go."
He like looks nervously to the brothers at the table, and then looks back at you. He like turns his back on them and like quickly like takes a sip and then like hands it back to you and like shakes his head. "I really shouldn't."
Oh, yes, I understand. I understand. He kind of plays it up a little for the three men behind him and takes both drinks and retreats.
"I wish you luck and the Father's blessing in everything that you pursue out here in this place."
Yes. He kind of hopes that that's the right response to give.
And with that, he'll head over to the table and speak quietly to these three brothers.
It would seem it is the father's will to abandon me with a heretic and an orc.
You do know how to keep good company, Lord Commander. Now, should we go see about speaking with Esme?
Yes. Let us go.
So as you make your way to the bar and mention you want to speak with her, there's this chain of nods that you would have seen before, where someone does a little gesture and then that's passed around until finally someone at the base of the stairs will approach and incline their heads upwards. And you can make your way up the stairs towards Esme, who's waiting in her quarters.
Greetings, lady. We have returned.
All right, boss. How are things? How'd it go?
A lack of familiar discuss now. We were able to retrieve those that survived. The orcs were cruel, as was the jungle. It took lives, but the majority live. As for the orc heathen, he possesses foul sorcery and was able to vanish himself.
Haven't you got that father magic?
It is regrettable to say that the church has interfered with the Primaris' orders. Brother Diego is no longer sworn to our company.
Ooh, hate that.
To put it lightly, we wish to give you an update on the situation and to assure you that death will come to this orc, but it will take time.
Well, I've heard already that the people made it back, which is important. It's good to get the morale up around here. People don't need to be scared. It means they're not drinking.
Indeed. Our deal.
So if it's okay between you and me, boss, I'd rather that if anyone asks, you say you did kill the fucker.
And what do we say if this creature returns?
They all look the same, don't they?
This is true. So, I take that our deal still stands to provide you with weapons and you to support our borders.
I did have a chat with some of the other captains of industry around here, and the people, generally speaking, are okay with it. As long as it doesn't bring too much order to this place. People live here for a very specific reason. You can't be imposing your laws here, but if you give us arms, we'll definitely defend the border.
No, indeed, if you become privateers, you are somewhat, what's the word, self-employed.
Can do.
The information that we sought, we would have it.
She looks at you blankly. What information?
Out of game, just to remind me, I swear we did the deal to sort of get information. Am I wrong?
Yes, you are right, but I don't remember it either.
Yeah, we were asking about information about the Black Feather clan specifically.
Oh, yes. Yep.
That's right. Yeah. Of our deal woman.
All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, there's an old bastard lives here. About a day north of here. He's an orc. I know. I don't fucking like dealing with him either. But he turned coats, I guess. He like lives on the outskirts, and he like does some hunting and trading here with our village. And I don't know much about it, but I know that he wears black feathers. His skin is black. So I figure he must be one of them. Maybe he knows something.
This is the extent of your information.
She like smiles, shows brown teeth.
You would do well not to deceive us again.
Hey, you said there's information. There's information.
What is the clearest and most secure route to take to this turncoat?
There's a trail you can follow if you head out eastways. He takes it frequently, and some people go out there to him as well.
Very well. We thank you for your time and for the continued hospitality you show us in our stay here.
Well, you can drink it for free if you want tonight.
Music to my ears, my lady. And he gives a curt nod, and he looks to his comrades just to see if they have anything that they'd like to ask her.
I would sort of lean forward a little bit. We recently lost the service of our priest. He was called away, and the jungle tends to take as much as it gives. Is there any place here where we could find supplies for mending wounds, tending to injuries, that sort of thing?
Yeah, you can talk to the doctor. He's like 3 or 4 doors up that way. He's got medicine and supplies and stuff like that. If you tell him I sent you, he might give you a discount. I'll put a word in.
Obliged. Thank you.
Now, if you want to eat here, you certainly can, but I wouldn't recommend it. She like has this smile on her face. You're probably better off down in Bethoff's down the road.
Garak has kind of been hanging by the window again, where she has this balcony that kind of overlooks the street down below, and he's kind of trying to keep an eye out for Tularak. He's thinking that he's probably going to have to hang near the edge of town, at least for a little while, because his scent here in the middle of all of this muck and everything is going to be very difficult to find.
Yes. You would have also seen on the way in, which I forgot to mention, flyers like from the newspaper with like this crudely drawn sketch of yourself, Garak, and like in big letters, "The Noble Savage?" ? And like if the other two of you who can read would like be able to read through it and see like this scathing report of like the savage ways of the orc, just like awful racism all the way through about like how terrible they are, how barbaric, how savage, and like how it's trendy to think that maybe they are not brutal monsters, but they are not like us, that kind of thing.
I think Vasco would be reading this thing with utter delight. He hasn't laughed in a long time, and he savors every word.
I can't imagine that Garak knows how to read, right? So he would just see like a picture of himself on the paper.
He's kind of pestering Vasco later on. What does it say? Does it talk about the stories I told him?
There are a good many truths upon this page, Orc. One that I shall be keeping, and he rolls it up and puts it in his belongings.
Yeah, so you'll see all of the like stories that Garak told will have been like twisted into like the view of like someone who is fearful or hateful of orcs. So all of like the nobility that Garak actually shows will have been turned into like savagery and like cowardice and things like that. So do you want to go eat? What do you want to do? Do you want to drink and fuck? What are you at?
I think Garak is going to probably gather some food kind of to go, whether it's, roasted meat on a leg or something, as well as a tankard. And he's going to go sit kind of at the edge of the city in the direction that they came back from, and just wait.
No problem.
I think Vasco is going to definitely take up the offer of all that free drink. So what he does is he makes sure that he's keenly resupplied, and he's actually going to pass a number of gold coins on to Balthazar if he's going to be visiting this medicine woman or man. Then he would see them all supplied sufficiently.
Yeah, I was gonna head down to the doctor to see about some potential healing supplies.
Sure. So as Vasco, the glorious commander, once again shirks his duties to get drunk, the others go about their actual duties. So you can make your way to the doctor, who is like a woman in her 50s, maybe. She's got like these like round glasses at the end of her nose. And as you like enter into this place, there's like a couple of people like lying on stretchers and stuff who are like obviously ill. But she has like behind her all these like tinctures and things like that. And like a little bit of a like a desk or whatever where she's sitting, and she'll like look up. Yes?
I was sent by Esme. She said she'd send word along. I'm Balthazar of the Scutarii.
Ah, yes. Yes. Do come in. Have a seat.
And I would sort of lean into a chair and sort of stretch my one good arm, rolling my shoulders a little bit.
Just as you're about to talk, there's like this hacking cough from somebody in the back. There's this like really like wet, gross cough that happens as you're about to talk.
And I would sort of just absently pull the collar of my cloak sort of up over my mouth and nose as I'm talking. I was wondering if you had any healing supplies, bandages, healing draughts, anything that could help.
I do. We're always happy to help. The Scutarii heroes of the nation, eh? She says with this like smile. And she like stands up and like looks behind. She like pulls down a few different things. I can make you up some drafts if you like.
Some healing drafts would be most agreeable. We recently lost the service of our priest.
Oh, unfortunate. I did see 3 brothers here in town. Perhaps one of those could join you.
Maybe. I think they were here for other purposes.
Oh, I see. Well, that is unfortunate. Nonetheless, and she like begins like taking these like strange, I mean, to your eyes would be strange, like reagents and stuff. And you would see, since you are also a spellcaster, that as she's like doing it, she's like muttering under her breath, and there's like magic going on here. So as she like puts the some roots and stuff, she like grinds them up, and like puts a powder into this like thing. She'll like finish whispering under her breath, and there'll just be like this very, very slight light that will like show for a moment, and she'll like create as many as you can afford. Now I don't know if we set down exactly how much money you guys had. Or anything like that, but this is going to start being important, so we should probably like put a number on it.
Yeah, well, the leftover gold I had for my starting is 105, and I'm not sure how much gold Vasco would have given me on my way out.
I imagine he would have handsomely supplied you 20 gold pieces. He has quite a lot.
So that puts my total at 126.
Okay, let me see. I don't think I've ever sold a healing potion before in any game that I've ever run. So
I think the base price for them is 50 gold. I'm almost positive.
That ain't cheap, huh?
They are expensive, yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so I'll say that she also sells healer's kits, but you can buy as many potions as you can afford. So that would be 2 and a bit.
Yeah, So I like readily pay for the 2, and then I sort of look at all of her supplies. I look at the herbs and the liquids and stuff. We're going to be spending quite a lot of time in the jungle. Are there any rare ingredients hard to come by that I might be able to keep an eye out for you?
She'll be like dropping something into one of these things and like finishing a sentence, and then her like eyebrow, she'll stop and her eyebrow will raise, and she'll like look up. Interesting.
Well, it's just that there are 3 of us. I'd like for us to each have one of these drafts for emergencies. So I could pay you half now, and then maybe we could work out some sort of deal for ingredients.
She like rubs some of the powder off her hands, and then takes like this like wet cloth and like cleans them down. Puts her elbows on the table. Interesting, Balthazar. Yes, there are many reagents that I need, that I require, and there are not many who are willing to go into the jungle to get them for me. Can you read?
I can, yes. Been reading since I was a child.
Well, you never know. Out here, there's not many who can. And she'll like grab a bit of paper and like begin scrolling down reagent stuff, which I don't know yet, but I'll write them down. And she'll like scroll them down in this piece of paper and like hand them to you. And she says, "Very good. Well, I can provide you with 3 now and 3 healing kits." And she'll like shove those across the table for you. And if you bring me these, I'll make you more drafts at a dramatic discount. Notably, this, and she'll like point to 2 like ingredients again, which I don't know the name of yet. And she'll be like, "If you can find these are gold dust to me, and I'll be able to make you a great many."
Perfect. I'm sure that we can procure some for you, and we have a keen-eyed half-orc pathfinder who I'm sure would love to help us find these things for you. So, pleasure doing business with you. What do I owe you for these supplies?
Let's see. Well, you're going to be bringing me stuff, and she's like obviously keenly intelligent, right? She's like trying to figure out like what a good investment is, considering you might be bringing her reagents, but you also might die in the jungle. So she's like not really sure. We'll call it 70.
70.
Yes.
Very reasonable. 70 it is. And I would count out the gold coins, which amounts to a very hefty stack. I imagine some of them are larger coins that denote, larger numbers of gold, and I would slide them across the counter to her. Your assistance is very much appreciated by the Skitarii. Thank you.
Yeah. Your arm, it's all right, is it?
Yes, I am all right now, actually. I lost my left.
She laughs.
It's
I mean, there's no infection or anything.
No, it's we had our priest with us. He was able to cauterize the wound, heal it as much as he could. I'm still getting used to it. It's only been a few days.
Unfortunately, that's beyond my ability to fix. But nonetheless, glad to see you're all right. I look forward to doing business with you.
As do I. Your name was again?
Gunhilda.
Pleasure. We'll be in touch.
Yep. She'll like wave to you and then look back down and begin like scrolling something on some bits of paper.
Cool. And you said 70 was what she wanted for that stuff?
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, cool. And we got 3 potions and 3 healers kits. Dope. So I will I'm also going to try and sell my old longsword, which I probably won't get much for, but it's good Castle Forge steel from the nation, so I imagine I'll get a few gold coins for it at least.
Yes, I think out here you'll probably get slightly better than you would other places because they don't exactly have like a smith making Castle Forge steel. So you can get like 3/4 of what you would pay for it new, which is 15. 3/4 of 15. I mean, I'm not a maths guy, but you can figure that out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Awesome. And it's a sort of a bittersweet thing selling this sword. This was pretty much the only thing that Balthazar didn't hawk while he was living in that hovel in the sort of the ghettos of the nation city. It was the last thing he sort of held dear to himself. So getting rid of it now is a bit bittersweet, but he feels the weight of his new blade at his hip and takes comfort in that as he heads back to the tavern with an armful of healing supplies.
Excellent. Garrock, you're on the outskirts of this village waiting. And maybe an hour goes by, and then two, as you're kind of like standing there, and then you can hear just this. And you can hear the sort of like yip, yip, the sort of like chuckle of Tuvarok as he like thinks he can smell you, but isn't sure. He like makes this noise.
And he's going to hide someplace, not extremely obvious, but probably fairly obvious for Tuvarok.
Yeah, you'll see him like a couple of moments later as you like hide, like skid to a halt near where you are and like sniffing like crazy. And he'll like look where you had been standing and like sniff the ground there and like paw at it and then like do sort of yelp like until finally he'll like lock eyes on you and just like leap upon you and just like lick you just everywhere, just blah, 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 and like play with you and like throw you around on the ground.
Yeah, he absolutely like offers up his forearm for Tuvarok to kind of bite down on a little, and kind of rolls around with him, grabs him by the nape of the neck, and pulls. Just kind of wrestles with him. Pretty rough for Garrock, but probably not compared to what he's been through the last several weeks.
Yep. Yep, and you also know it's like harmless. He would never like harm you deliberately. It's just like this sort of play, and he just like won't stop. He's like so excited to see you again. And it takes like quite a bit of time before he'll like calm down enough to like sit. And you'll notice that like as you go to leave, that he will stand directly by your side and like almost like bumping into you as you walk, like making sure that you don't go anywhere.
And kind of nudges him back a little bit. Yes, I'm fine. It's just good to see you too. I was hoping that you would come soon. Come. There's food awaiting. Kind of trot, trying to let him burn off some energy as they run back towards the tavern.
Sure. So there's a knock on your door, Lord Commander. As you're like in your revelries, there's like this. Sir.
He gives the wench that he's with another smack on the behind before he gets up, pulling a robe on, opens the door halfway.
There's a man standing there. He is sort of elderly, like sort of thin. He's got this like very long waxed mustache and is bald. He's got these like tiny spectacles on the end of his nose and is very, very well dressed considering where he is. My lord, I have seen you around the town and I felt now was the appropriate time to approach you with my business venture. I hope that my interruption to your revelry is not as unpalatable as the goods themselves, he'll say with a smile.
Vasco's head swims a little from the wine, and he actually goes and he collects a cup, pours some wine into it, and hands it to the man.
He'll smile wide. He sees that he has like 3 golden teeth in his mouth. Thank you, my lord.
Take a seat.
He'll like enter and sit. He says, I'm Virgil de Valetos. I'm an archaeologist, anthropologist, geologist, a polymath, I suppose, you might say, if you're being kind. I won't bore you with pointless overtures and prologues. I'm certain that a man of your station is busy in the extreme, but I do have it on good authority that there is an ancient site not 10 days from here that is littered with ancient and valuable items from the progenitors.
I see. And you approach me with this information. Why?
But you are capable, Lord. You're capable. I have seen you and that soldier with you and the half-breed that you spend your time with for whatever reason, I assume under orders. For one of your station would obviously never mix with something so filthy deliberately.
You're quite right. You are a man of vision. Continue.
I do try, Lord, I do try. In the elder days, before the light of the Father, they say another race ruled over man and orc alike, that they were as beautiful as the dawn and cruel as the night, that they never died except by violence, and that they were as gods on this earth. Heresy, of course, my lord. I do seem to be rambling. Terribly sorry.
Do not apologize. Did these creatures have a name?
Progenitors, Lord, is what we call them in the those who are in the know. I have translated ancient texts from those times with evidence of tools and tablets that I have determined that there is a temple beyond, a tomb of what was once a leader of the progenitor people. If you'll allow, I shall read you a small excerpt from the eponymous Valetos stone, which I myself discovered in my youth.
No need for that quite yet.
Very good. Thus spake Anatherion, first of his name, husband of the sun, lord of rain, upon the death of his father. A great mausoleum shall be built where 3 rivers meet. 200 cubits shall be its height, and atop it the sun shall shine brightest. The glories of the divine fathers. And here, Lord, the text is untranslatable for some paragraphs until finally it says, and all shall know that a god rests here. I'm interested in hiring you to find this ancient place and the treasures within, Lord. I'm wholly certain that the place is real, and certain too that it's secluded and unknown enough that no tomb robbers will have found it. Think of the ancient artifacts that can be found within. And he's like very excited about it. You can see that he's like jumping up and down. He hasn't touched his wine. He's just been talking.
Yeah, Vasco is going to look at the wench that he's with and sort of like trade a glance with her, and then look back to the man after he's finished his tirade.
Well, Lord, what do you say?
We would, of course, need to agree on a percentage. Of course, you would hire us. You would pay us coin to do this, but we are not simple mercenaries. We would require tribute. The nation requires this. We would need a percentage of all findings.
Well, yes, of course, Lord. I mean, there will be treasures within, great treasures, artifacts of elder days. It's my assumption that there will be weapons there and arms, perhaps even ancient techniques of... and he's about to say sorcery and then says old ways Nonetheless, sire, I do suggest that there could be a great deal of wealth there. What I would ask from this venture simply would be any texts or tablets that you find within. Those would be the things that I myself would want.
I'm sure we can come to some arrangement. However, any information that would prove prudent to the nation and its struggle with the savages, you would have to share with us.
Well, of course, yes. It seems from my readings, Lord, that the progenitors were once ruled over both man and orc in a time before.
Very interesting, says Vasco, not in the least interested.
He will prattle on about like the potential implications of that in like just very academic speech. That like Vasco's intelligent, but he probably doesn't like speak like that. And so he's just like blah 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 blah.
Yes, and we would of course have to negotiate our fee.
Well, yes, of course. Great warriors like you do not come cheap, I understand, which is why I have approached you. If I was simply looking for tomb robbers, I would have asked some of the ne'er-do-wells in this town, but I do not trust them to find what they find and deliver it back here. You are a man of honor. You are Vasco de Leon, if I am correct.
You are correct.
Then your word is as good as gold, my lord.
I'm glad to hear it. Though... what I find somewhat concerning is your understanding of this situation. You seek the best, therefore you must anticipate significant danger.
Well, it is in the depth of the jungle, Lord. My assumption is the jungle is dangerous. I myself, in my youth, did quite a bit of exploring in the jungle. Have a few scars to show for it, and he'll like lift his hand where he's like missing 2 fingers. In my youth, I did quite a bit of exploring. One of those tentacle cats, I believe they're called, messed me right up. Nonetheless, I did make it home. I found this tablet, which now rests at home in Deviletto's hall. Nonetheless, I believe there is danger there, but I think you, Lord, above all, will be able to succeed on this quest.
Can I do an insight check on this man?
For sure.
So 19 on the die. Let me see if I actually have insight. So that's 21.
What are you looking for in him?
Yeah, sorry, I should have said. So obviously he's playing to Vasco's ego. And that is something that Vasco detects quite easily because a lot of people, particularly his current company, tend to try and avoid. So it's kind of obvious to him that he's trying to butter him up. Is there anything about this mission that he's been hiding? Any facts in particular that he's kind of evaded?
Right. So you think he probably has been telling you the sort of cliff notes of what he thinks is important. Like he's like treasure, precursor people, like he's giving you like the important stuff as quickly as possible. You think that his calling you Lord is genuine. This is how most people would treat Vasco at home in the nation, like that they would be incredibly polite, very flattering because Vasco is high nobility. So you think that's genuine. But yeah, there's probably more information that he hasn't mentioned, but not because he's trying to hide it from you, more that he wants you to say yes,
Perfect. What fee do you offer us?
Well, I can pay you 1,500 gold pieces if you'll go and find the place, and then whatever you find within reason, I suppose, can be yours, barring tablets and texts, things of that nature. I would suggest that any gold we find, we split down the middle.
You would suggest this?
I believe it's fair.
The texts. That is what you want above all, is it not?
The text and the tablets, yes. Anything that you find within that might give us more information about the progenitors and their mysterious ways.
Then you shall have this, and we shall have the full fee, plus any treasure and weapons that we find.
I must protest, Lord. Some of the gold surely should go to my house, Devastato. We too are a noble house. We can say...
What swords do they offer to this quest?
Well, none at the moment, sire. They are all in the west, fighting the Orc.
Then they shall not be rewarded for not supporting one of their own.
There's no choice in the matter, Lord, as you understand. I'm certain that the Pride are fighting somewhere also.
This is true.
I do not ask for much, and there are more of you, and I know that you are taking on most of the risk. I will pay you the gold as suggested. 75% will go to you, and then 25 to House de Sato, plus any tablets and texts found within.
He pours a generous portion of wine into the cup of the man, and to himself, I believe we have a deal. And he clinks it against his glass and drinks.
He'll do the same, drinking it eagerly, and then he'll get this look on his face of as he drinks the wine, which is not of good quality, and this is obviously a man of breeding. But nonetheless, he'll smile and say, "Thank you, Lord. This will be truly a great discovery, I think, for the nation and all within."
Agreed. Now, me and my associates, he says with a grimace, have other business to attend to first. We shall leave for this destination in 3 days.
As you say, I'll make preparations. I will supply you for this journey also.
Very kind.
The least that I can do. And he's obviously giddy with the idea of someone actually going and finding these ancient texts. And he's almost laughing as he's speaking. And he goes to put a hand on your shoulder, as in thanks for the deal. And then he decides not to, and just gives a curt bow. Thank you, Lord.
He gives a nod. And then goes, I guess, to pull on his clothes and his armor to find his friends. Friends?
Hey, you said it, man. You said it.
The woman on the bed looks your direction. Are you done? Are we finished?
Oh, you twisted my arm. And he returns to her.
So a couple of minutes, I was going to say hours pass. I don't know which really for Vasco. With his divine constitution, who knows? Nonetheless, sometime later, you'll meet up and like eat together, I think, probably in that restaurant that was mentioned. Restaurant is generous for the place. You can eat this like very, very spicy sort of curry with like a mystery meat and lots of rice. You think the spices are definitely there to hide the taste of the rotten meat as you like eat as much as you can, as quickly as you can. It's tasty in its own way. And yeah, you can discuss.
Vasco will have just given them the details of that conversation, essentially.
Interesting. Seems we'll be able to find plenty of work here if we need it. And at this point, I would pass the healing potions and the healing kits to both Garak and Vasco. I made a deal with the doctor as well. We're to keep an eye out for these ingredients, and I would pass the paper that she wrote it on to Garak. If we can find some of that stuff, she'll give us a steep discount on some more healing supplies. You familiar with that stuff, Garak?
He kind of looks down at the piece of paper, kind of shifting it around on the table a little bit, kind of knocking the table with his finger on the paper.
Right. Sorry, I forgot. And I would read the names of the ingredients to him.
These are not things I'm very familiar with, but I think there are probably people here I could talk to, and we'll be able to find them just fine.
Great. And I would fold the paper up.
This place that your friend has asked us to go, Lion, it is beyond the fort that we seek?
It is
Same
10
direction?
days. 10 days from our location. I can't remember, sorry, if it was the same direction though, Lloyd, sorry.
Yes, it would be north, but you think it's probably further than the fort.
Yeah, Vasco would relay that info.
Well, perhaps we can kill two birds with one stone. We can go to the fort as planned, and instead of it turning immediately, we can go onward, whatever this place is that he's described, and then maybe come back the same way.
Mm. So he would accompany us to this turncoat.
If he sees fit, I suppose he could come with us.
We saw many casualties within the jungle. I would hate for our new patron to suffer the same fate.
It's true. So, this orc guide, this other individual who had black feathers that she spoke of, is to the east, she said. So we should probably go see him first and then come back. And then we can set out northward.
You speak wisdom, Savage. We shall do this.
So the decided the camera will pan up through the roof of the restaurant that you're in and up through like the tree line, and it'll just get this like huge view of the jungle. And you'll see occasionally like a mountain sticking out here or there, but you'll also see several points, like the tops of pyramids sticking out of the jungle here and there. The camera like moved towards one of them specifically with like this huge golden top that shines so brightly that it's almost blinding, and it'll go through the thick stone into the darkness where the walls are sweating, it's so hot, to within where we see a face, almost human but not quite, a little bit too angular, and the nose is a little bit too flat against the face, two slits where nostrils would be. And these eyes open sideways. And it looks at the camera for a second as it wakes. That's where we're going to end today's session. That was really fun. Thanks, guys.
That was excellent.
Man, way to start off the session with us all almost dying, like in the first 10 minutes.
Some
oh my
scary
God.
shit.
Oh, man.
Cool. Thank you, dudes. Thank you if you watched Kickstarter tomorrow for Isklov. Check that out. I'll spam this channel and every social media that I'm on. Check that out. And we'll see you next time.